Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be breaking down what is a personal brand, who needs a personal brand, and how to begin to start to build your personal brand online, and so much more. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Shamecca Stevens. Nice to finally meet you. I help online entrepreneurs with video, marketing, branding, and implementing simple systems and strategies in their business to help them grow and scale their business online. Let's go ahead and jump in. So the first question I want to tackle is, what is a personal brand? That is one of the hardest things that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. A lot of times people think a personal brand is your brand colors, your brand fonts, your logo, all of that sort of stuff. But in reality, that's actually not what a personal brand is. A personal brand, by definition, is how the outside world perceives you. And so in more simplified terms, a personal brand is you, and it's made up of your personality, your characteristics, your vibe, and any interest that you may have as a brand owner. So take me, for example.
I love the color pink. I'm literally obsessed with the color pink, in case you can't tell.
Because it makes me feel happy, and it's such a fun and uplifting color, I feel like. Another fun fact about me is I absolutely love coffee. I love the fall, and I love living in the country, like country roads, crop fields, creeks, dirt roads, and nature. That's truly where my heart is happiest, and I'm absolutely crazy over any type of 80s music, whether it be rock, classic rock, or country, and I love watching rock and roll documentaries. So these are all things that make up my personal brand, but not only make up my personal brand, but are also all things that my ideal viewer can relate to me on, which goes deeper than what I sell or have to offer. This is also how viewers and people are going to find you and decide on whether or not they like you and if you're their person or not. So you want to be sure that these are all things that you're sharing and sprinkling inside of your content. These are essentially signs and signals to your viewer that you're their type of person. So the next question I want to tackle is, who could benefit from a personal brand? So personal branding is actually beneficial to any type of entrepreneur out there. And here's why. It builds your trust and credibility. People love to support and buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if people don't know, like, and trust you, it's really hard for them to get behind and just jump on something just on a whim and purchase it from you. They need to know a little bit more. They need to know that you're here today, you're here tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. It also helps you to stand out in a competitive market. So one of the ways that you can do that is by building a personal brand, which is going to in turn make you stand out and basically level the playing field. It allows small business owners to be able to compete with multiple brands, niches, and industries out there in the market. Whereas a lot of times when you're just a small business and you don't have a personal brand and people don't know a whole heck of a lot about you, it's a little bit harder of a sell to make and get people on board with whatever it is you're doing or offering or selling. So whenever you build a personal brand, it's going to make you stand out and give you recognition. The next benefit to having a personal brand is it creates opportunities for you. A strong personal brand can actually attract partnerships, jobs, offers, clients, and even media attention, which can help you to get in front of bigger audiences and other micro niches that you may or may not have ever came across had you not done some type of partnership with a company, or had you not been a guest on someone's podcast or their YouTube channel, what have you. You wouldn't have probably been exposed to those people and those audiences. And so that's why it's really good to have a brand presence, is because it's really going to start to help you to get noticed and to start to build and get bigger. And the last benefit to having a personal brand is it creates authentic connections. The really cool thing about having a personal brand is you're able to create a community of like-minded people, and that is going to be like the icing on the cake. Being able to find people that you relate to, that get you, that's into the same things as you are, that right there alone is so super powerful. If you look at business, that's one of the most important things when it comes to business, is building relationships with your customers. If you don't care about your customers will eventually feel that, and they're going to go to somebody else where they feel like their dollar is valued a little bit more over somebody that may not come across as appreciative of their purchase that they're making with that business. And so that's why it's so important to create authentic connections with both your customer base and your audience. You want them to know, look, I really care about you. I want to be able to help you in whatever it is that you're doing and offering and helping people in. You care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that is one of those important things that I feel like a personal brand really does well for us. So let's talk about what type of entrepreneurs would benefit from having a personal brand. It's pretty much, well, any type of entrepreneur, but here are a few. Solo entrepreneurs and freelancers, service-based entrepreneurs, product-based entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs and startups, creative entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, and public speakers, e-commerce entrepreneurs, side hustle entrepreneurs, and even franchise owners. The only time a personal brand wouldn't be necessary is if you're focusing more on the product, or if you have a business-to-business type business model. And a lot of people think with a franchise, you wouldn't really necessarily need a personal brand, but actually a personal brand could be very beneficial to a franchise type business. The reason why is because it sets you apart from your competition. And just for example, I have a UPS store where I can return Amazon Amazon packages to here now locally to me, but I also had one that I had to go to before we got a UPS store here in our area. And the crazy thing about the one UPS store was how this guy treated people. It really irritated me a lot of times, and I hated going to drop my packages off there. I even considered driving a little bit farther than my 30-minute drive that I was already driving to drop off packages just to avoid this dude. And so the really refreshing thing that I kind of discovered when I started coming to the new location that's closer to me was this guy was actually appreciative of my business. He wanted to help me. He didn't care what it was that I was doing, even if I was just dropping off an Amazon package. He was excited to help me and also let me know about other services that they offer. And he was interested in what I did for a living. He took interest in me as a customer. That's way more than I can say about this other location. So he has definitely won me over for future business and any type of, printing needs that I would have that, UPS could actually provide. And so just know, if you're a franchise, it can really set you apart by just having a personal brand and showing up differently than other people in your niche or industry because of how you treat people and what you're about and a little bit of your story that can set you apart by just letting people know a little bit about you, your business, and what motivated you to get started within your franchise. And then also be able to showcase what you're able to do in your story. That can definitely make a huge difference on whether or not a person's going to choose to come to you or your competitor. And so for my next question, do you need a logo with a personal brand? And the answer is no, you don't need a logo with a personal brand. That's a huge misconception that a lot of people have with personal branding versus corporate branding. And so for corporate brands, it's all about the logo, brand colors, brand fonts, all those different things. That's the product itself. It has nothing to do with the owner or the creator of the product. It's all focused around the product. So you as the consumer or customer of these products, you recognize their brand, you recognize their logos, you recognize their colors, you recognize the fonts. If I see a Coca-Cola, I know it by the font that it has. I know it because it's got a red background. It's got the white font with the scripted kind of writing. With Red Bull, I know it by the bull that's on the can. It's blue and silver. And so I know it by its brand colors, its fonts, all those different things. However, I know nothing about the, own company, the person who created the product, what their interests are, where they live, all of that. I have no idea about that, nor do I care. All I care about is getting my Coke or getting my Red Bull. That's really the gist of that whole relationship. Whereas with a personal brand, the first thing that you're going to think about is the person behind that personal brand. So you think of their voice, you think of their hair and how they style their hair, what they wear, their stories and where they live, etc. You know all of those personal details about that brand and business. And that's because with a personal brand, your viewers, your customers, your audience, they are invested in who you are, what you stand for, what you're all about, what you're offering, and they believe in it. And so they know, all the details about you and what makes up you, your brand, your company, all those things. And so that's one of the really cool and most powerful things about personal branding is it builds that personal connection between both you and the customer. And the single most important thing when it comes to having a business, whether it be online or in person, is to build strong connections with your customers. That is the most important thing. And if you know how much you care about them, then they don't care what you have to offer and all of those things, like I said before. And so this gives you a competitive edge by having a personal brand. And so let's tackle the next question. Why would you want a personal brand? And the reason why is simple. Personal brands are super powerful. With a personal brand, your audience is invested in who you are, what your values are, what do you like, what do you dislike, where you live, all those different things. This is important because it really takes the process of building a business back to the basics, building the connections and relationships with your community and your audience and your customers. This also helps to set you apart from other businesses and brands in your same niche or industry. And so that's one of the really super powerful things about a personal brand is it really does the heavy lifting for you when you've laid that groundwork of building those connections and relationships with your audience, because now they're willing to purchase from you. The purchase isn't as hard. They're willing to support you. And so that's one of the most powerful things about having a personal brand. It's built those relationships and those connections on the front end for you all along while you've been showing up and creating content and all of that. That's building that rapport. That's building that know, like, and trust with your audience. And so it's basically doing all the heavy lifting for you in turn, which makes it a whole lot easier to convert your audience into loyal customers and helping you to build your business because they believe in who you are, what you do, and what you have to offer. So for example, take the band Rush. They were a Canadian progressive rock / metal band with a combination of instrumental and high energy songs. They really went against the grain and created a whole new sound for rock music. Unfortunately, this caused them to not really get a whole lot of press coverage and to be passed over several times for being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This absolutely infuriated their fans. So over 200 die-hard Rush fans protested in Ohio in front of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for their band Rush Rush to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And eventually, Rush was finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is because their fans believed in the band, they believed in who they were, what they stood for, what they did, their music, everything. And they wanted their band to be recognized. This is because their fans absolutely loved them, knew how hard they worked as musicians, and fought for their band to be recognized. This example alone shows you how powerful having a personal brand is, because once a person knows who you are, knows how you think, why you do what you do, and all those different things, they have built that strong connection with you, and so they will in turn support you and promote you and share you with their friends, their family, and so on. And so that's what makes personal branding super powerful. The really cool thing about this is personal branding works the exact same way. Your audience begins to know, like, trust, and believe in what you do and stand for, and so they want to support that. This in turn also naturally attracts your audience and your ideal customer. And so the first suggestion I want to make to you when it comes to creating a personal brand and showing up online is to be unapologetically you. Perks and all. One of the hardest things that most entrepreneurs and creators struggle with most is being themselves online and on camera. Like, who is the real you when you're just hanging around friends and family? Who are you off camera? How do you talk? How do you act? Are you sarcastic? Are you funny? What is your personality? Whatever that may be, you just want to be sure you show that in your videos, because if somebody were to meet you in real life and you're completely different than what they have been watching and seeing online, it starts to create this whole complex situation of like, wait a minute, I thought she was like this, but then she's really like this. And so you just want to be sure, however you are offline in your day-to-day life, you want to be sure that you're the same way online in your videos, in your content. You want all of that to be the same, because otherwise people are going to be like, who the heck is this person? If they meet you in person or real life, it's going to be a little bit of a shock value. And so that's why it's so super important, one, to be yourself, but also people can tell when you're being fake or you're too rehearsed or something seems off. People really do pick up on that, and if they feel like there's something weird there, this makes your viewer question you and not fully buy or trust what you're saying, and can turn people off really quick. And so you definitely want to avoid that. These days people are craving authenticity and connection more than ever. So when you're creating any type of content, whether it be videos, reels, graphics, whatever, you want to say things the way you would normally say things. So however you say things is the way you want to kind of create a graphic around that, because that is going to be you through and through, and your audience is going to know that and connect with you even more, especially when you're talking to a person that's just like you and has all the same interest and likes as you do. They're totally going to get you, and they're totally going to relate to you even more. So definitely be yourself. And so, for example, one of my sayings that I say all the time is, that's like a hot mess expressed inside of a dumpster fire, because it seems like I'm coming across a lot of situations that are like a hot mess expressed inside of a dumpster fire. And if you know me, you know I've got a crazy family, and there's always a lot of crazy stuff going on with my family. And so I'm like always using this term. And so there's also this little meme that I've got, and I'm like always sending that back and forth between me and Chris. And you know, even online when I'm responding to people's comments and things that they're saying to me or their posts or whatever, I will use that meme if I can, because it's like just so totally me. And so that's just another way that it allows me to be able to connect and relate to my audience. And it just feels so natural and fun, and to be able to have like a community that really is nice. And so it just feels so good when your customers and your audience gets you. You have to remember one thing, and that is you are not weird or crazy just because you like a certain thing. There are a lot of people just like you who get into the same things as you do, and your job is to just simply be you, and your audience will find you. I mean, there was a whole entire super fan for the band Rush that created a whole super fan group, basically set up all of these events and meet up for whenever the band was coming into town, and they would all get together before the concert, hang out, and just go crazy over the band Rush being in town, and then go to the concert. And so she created this whole community for these people because they had this one thing in common that they all were absolutely crazy about and just absolutely loved. So believe me, there's always someone that gets into exactly what you get into, and you just have to find and connect with those people. And the last tip I want to give you is don't worry about being perfect. One of the biggest issues that entrepreneurs and creators deal with is being afraid of messing up and making mistakes. Biggest piece of advice I can give you is learn to give yourself grace. You're not going to be perfect. Know that it takes time to build and hone your craft. And so if you're just starting something new for the first time, just know it's going to take time and several hours of doing it over and over and over again, and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and correcting the mistakes to really truly get it dialed in and to be able to show up with complete confidence. And so until you're able to make the mistakes and go through it and learn from it, you're not going to be perfect, and that's all a part of the process. And I know how hard it is to get in front of a camera and share with the world something that you're super passionate about, and somehow still be able to be yourself on camera and not turn into that weird camera presence, girl. Totally get that and understand that, because I too struggle with perfectionism and wanting everything to be right that I put out. Like, I literally second, third, fourth, and fifth guess everything that I do, create, and make. So I totally get how hard and frustrating it can be. Take this video for example. I almost had a complete anxiety attack and come apart just getting this video outlined and filmed. No joke. It was brutal. I am not gonna lie. And the reason why is because I haven't done it in a while. My focus wasn't on my YouTube channel. It was more of building my social media presence. However, now I focus on building my YouTube channel. And so now I'm just kind of having to relearn, get back in the saddle, try to remember what I did like a year ago when I was, cranking out videos all the time. If you haven't done something in a while, just know it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, because I was so in my head and worked up about this whole situation. It took me over a week and a half to get this video filmed, edited, and uploaded here for you to watch now. All solely because I was in my head and I was comparing myself to another creator that I follow online and just trying to be too perfect with the whole situation. And here's the crazy thing. A lot of times with the content that really pops off the most for us and really resonates the most with people that wants to support us or following us and all of those things is generally the content that we don't put a whole heck of a lot of thought into. Now, not meaning you just throw up just any little old thing and call that a day. No, you do kind of need to think through it to some degree. But I can tell you that content and videos that I created and just kind of like popped out like no problem, just, went with it, didn't second guess it, just, let it be what it was. Those videos and those pieces of content performed a whole lot better than anything where I just overplanned and fixated on that whole situation. So, lesson to be learned. Sometimes we just got to get out of our head, get into action, and stop, spinning our wheels. And if you do find that you're starting to spin your wheels and you're just kind of getting to you just need to stop, break from whatever it is you're doing, go on a walk, watch TV maybe, something that's going to kind of take your mind off of it, and then come back to it and say, okay, am I refreshed? Am I coming at this at a different angle? If not, it may be something to where you need to take a day or two and just not look at it and then come back to it a couple of days later. Because I know that gives me a lot of clarity, especially if I'm just get myself out in nature and I can go walk around and just kind of take in all of that. It really kind of helps me to get back to me and get out of my head and get more centered. That is one of the things that I do, and I hope that it's something that you can do as well that will help you to kind of refocus and get back on task and get back into action. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to watch the video that's on your screen now. I'm going to be sharing with you more in detail on how to stay motivated and keep going even when you feel like nothing's working and nothing's happening in your business.